Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm excited to have you here today. Today, we're going to explore the story of cricket, a fascinating journey into one of the world's most beloved sports. This presentation will cover the origins, evolution, and key moments that have shaped cricket into what it is today. So, let's dive in and discover the rich history behind this incredible game. Let's take a quick look at what we'll cover in this presentation. Starting with the history of cricket, we'll explore how the game evolved over time. Then, we'll see how the cricket bat made its journey to the modern design we see today. Moving forward, we'll discuss what makes cricket unique compared to other sports. We'll also look into the essential tools used in cricket and how they have developed. Next, we'll delve into the origins of Indian cricket, a story rich with passion and tradition. We'll examine the peculiarities of the game, including some interesting historical quirks. Then, we'll talk about the characteristics that define cricket and set it apart. We'll also touch on a notable quarrel between the Parsis and the Bombay Gymkhana, which played a role in shaping the sport in India. Following that, we'll look at India's rise in the world of Test cricket and highlight some key moments, like the first Test match played. Finally, we'll discuss how cricket has changed over the years, adapting to modern times and evolving into the game we love today. This slide lays out all these topics, giving us a roadmap for the journey through cricket's fascinating story. Let's take a look at the fascinating origins of cricket. It actually grew out of various stick-and-ball games played in England over 500 years ago. These early games had a lot of different rules, and there wasn't a single standardized version. Interestingly, the word bat comes from Old English, where it simply meant a stick or a club, so even the terminology has deep historical roots. By the 17th century, cricket had developed enough to be recognizable as a distinct game, with its own rules and style. Connecting this to our overall theme, understanding the history of cricket helps us appreciate how it evolved into the popular sport we know today. Let's now explore the journey of the cricket bat to the present day. This slide highlights how the cricket bat has evolved over time and traveled through history. Starting from its origins, early versions of the bat were quite different from what we see today, shaped by the materials available and the playing styles of the time. Over centuries, modifications have been made to improve performance, durability, and design. This journey is a reflection of how the sport itself has developed, adapting to new rules and player preferences. Understanding this evolution helps us appreciate the craftsmanship and innovation behind the modern cricket bat, which is essential to the overall story of cricket's history. So, as we look at this travel through time, keep in mind how each change connects to the broader theme of sport evolution and cultural significance. One of the most interesting aspects of cricket is its peculiarity when it comes to match duration. Unlike many other sports, a test match can last up to 5 days and still end in a draw. That's quite unusual, isn't it? No other team sport takes nearly that much time to complete a game. For example, a football match typically wraps up in about an hour and a half, very straightforward and quick. Even baseball, which is also a lengthy sport, finishes 9 innings in less than half the time it takes to play a limited overs match in cricket. This highlights how unique cricket is in balancing the potential for long, drawn-out contests with the excitement and unpredictability that keeps fans hooked. This peculiarity ties into our overall theme of understanding cricket's complexity and its unique place among sports. Another interesting aspect of cricket is that the length of the pitch is always specified. It's exactly 22 yards. But what's fascinating is that the size or shape of the ground itself isn't fixed. Grounds can vary quite a bit. For example, the Adelaide Oval is oval-shaped, while Chepauk in Chennai is almost circular. This variation affects things like how far a ball needs to travel to clear the boundary. For instance, a 6 hit at the Melbourne Cricket Ground requires clearing a much larger area than at Feroz Shah Kotla in Delhi. This highlights how cricket grounds can be quite different, yet the game remains the same, which is a really intriguing part of the sport's character. Cricket was actually the earliest modern team sport to be formally codified. The very first written law of cricket dates back to 1744, and it laid out some key principles. For example, they decided that the principals, or umpires, should be chosen from among the gentlemen present, and these umpires would have the absolute authority to settle disputes. They also specified the dimensions. The stumps had to be exactly 22 inches high, with a bail across them measuring 6 inches. The ball itself needed to weigh between 5 and 6 ounces, and the two sets of stumps were to be placed 22 yards apart, which is still the standard length today. Moving on to the history of clubs, the world's first cricket club was formed in Hambledon during the 1760s, which marked an important step in organizing the sport. Later, in 1787, the Marylebone Cricket Club, or MCC, was founded and became hugely influential in shaping cricket's rules and traditions. It's also worth noting that the Parsi team was one of the well-known old teams, highlighting cricket's reach beyond England early on. As the game evolved during the 1760s and 1770s, there was a significant shift in how the ball was delivered. Instead of rolling the ball along the ground, bowlers started pitching it through the air. This change was a game changer, as it allowed bowlers to vary the length, use deception, and increase pace, opening up new tactics like spin and swing. Batsmen had to adapt quickly, mastering timing and shot selection to counter these new challenges. One major adjustment was the switch from curved bats to the straight bats we see today, which better suited the evolving style of play. Regarding equipment, the ball's weight was standardized to between 5.5 and 5.75 ounces, and the bat's width was limited to 4 inches to keep the game fair and standardized. In 1774, the first leg-before law was introduced, addressing how to handle situations where the ball might hit the stumps through the batsman's legs. Also during this period, a third stump became common, making the wicket more challenging for batsmen. By 1780, 3 days had become the typical length for a major match, reflecting the growing importance and organization of the sport. That same year, the first 6-seam cricket ball was created, which contributed to the increased pace and consistency in bowling. All these developments show how cricket gradually evolved into the structured, strategic game we know today. Let's take a closer look at the tools of cricket. One of the most interesting aspects is that these tools are made from natural, pre-industrial materials. For example, the cricket bat is crafted using leather, twine, and cork. Even today, both the bat and the ball are handmade, which really sets cricket apart from many modern sports that rely on mass production. The design of the bat has evolved over time. Originally, it was carved from a single piece of wood, but now it consists of 2 parts: the blade, which is made from willow wood, and the handle, typically crafted from cane. This change allows for better performance and durability. Unlike sports like golf or tennis, cricket has steadfastly refused to replace its traditional tools with industrial or synthetic materials like plastic, fiberglass, or metal. This commitment to natural materials is a core part of cricket's identity. However, with the invention of vulcanized rubber in the 19th century, cricket gear started to incorporate new protective equipment. Pads introduced in 1848, along with protective gloves, became essential. And today, helmets made from metal and lightweight synthetic materials are a crucial part of safety on the field. All of these tools, crafted from natural materials and carefully designed, highlight cricket's deep connection to tradition, craftsmanship, and safety. They remind us that cricket's essence is rooted in history, even as the game continues to evolve. Let's take a closer look at the origins of Indian cricket. It all started in Bombay, where the Indian community first began playing the game. Interestingly, the Parsi community, who were Zoroastrians, played a significant role in this early history. Due to their active interest in trade, they had close contact with the British, which helped them adopt many Western customs and traditions. In fact, they were the first Indian community to Westernize in this way. The Parsis took a pioneering step by founding the first Indian cricket club, called the Oriental Cricket Club, in Bombay back in 1848. This was a crucial moment because it laid the foundation for organized cricket in India. And it wasn't just a small effort. Parsi clubs received support and sponsorship from prominent Parsi businessmen, such as the Tatas and the Wadias. Their investment and enthusiasm helped establish cricket as a popular sport among Indians and set the stage for its growth across the country. So, understanding these early beginnings helps us see how cricket became embedded in Indian culture, connecting a community's identity with the broader history of the sport in India. Let's talk about the quarrel between the Parsis and the Bombay Gymkhana. The white cricket elite in India, unfortunately, did not support the enthusiastic Parsis in their efforts. In fact, there was a significant dispute involving the Bombay Gymkhana, which was a whites-only club, and Parsi cricketers over the use of a public park. The Parsis complained that the park had become unsuitable for playing cricket because the polo ponies from the Gymkhana had dug up the surface. When it became clear that the colonial authorities favored their white counterparts, the Parsis took matters into their own hands and built their own Gymkhana to play cricket. This rivalry, while challenging, led to a positive outcome for these pioneers. In 1889, just 4 years after the Indian National Congress was founded in 1885, a significant organization in India's history, the Parsi team managed to beat the Bombay Gymkhana at cricket. This victory is especially notable because it underscores the resilience and determination of the Parsis in establishing their place in Indian cricket and society. It also connects to the broader theme of rising Indian self-assertion during this period, with figures like Dadabhai Naoroji, a prominent Parsi statesman and intellectual, playing a key role in shaping the nation's future. Now, moving on to modern cricket, we see that it's primarily dominated by two formats: tests and one-day internationals, which are played between national teams. These formats really define the sport today and are what fans around the world follow closely. What's really fascinating is how players who excel in these formats become legendary figures, not just for their skills, but for the impact they leave on the sport and its fans. They live on in the memories of cricket enthusiasts everywhere. For example, in India, some of the most memorable players are those who had the chance to play Test cricket. Think of C.K. Naidu, who was an outstanding batsman of his era, or Palwankar Balu, celebrated as the greatest slow bowler of his time. And of course, Sir Donald Bradman, widely regarded as the greatest batsman in the history of cricket. These players are more than just athletes. They are part of cricket's rich history and continue to inspire generations. Their contributions highlight how cricket isn't just a game, but a legacy built by extraordinary individuals. India entered the world of Test cricket in 1932, which is quite remarkable because it was actually more than a decade before India gained independence. This highlights how cricket, especially Test cricket, had a different origin story compared to many other sports. The reason India could participate at that time is because Test cricket, which started in 1877, was originally organized as a contest between different parts of the British Empire, rather than sovereign nations. So, even before India was an independent country, it was already making its mark in international cricket through these imperial competitions. This sets an interesting context for how cricket has historically been linked to broader political and cultural exchanges, and it also underscores India's long-standing involvement in the sport, even before independence. Let's take a step back in time to when cricket first made its mark as a test sport. The very first test match was played between England and Australia. Interestingly, at that point, Australia was still a white settler colony, which means it was primarily inhabited and developed by European settlers. This match marked the beginning of what would become one of the most storied rivalries in sports history. It's fascinating to see how a simple game played between two nations has grown into a symbol of national pride and cultural identity. This early match laid the foundation for the intense competition and camaraderie we see in cricket today, connecting us to the sport's rich and complex history. Now, let's look at some of the significant changes that came into cricket later on. First, we saw the replacement of the gentlemanly amateur with the paid professional. This shift reflected the changing nature of the sport, where skill and professionalism started to take precedence over the traditional gentlemanly ideals. It marked a move towards a more competitive and commercially driven game. Next, the triumph of the one-day game is quite notable. One-day cricket quickly overshadowed Test cricket in terms of popularity, largely because it offered a faster, more exciting format that appealed to a wider audience. This change transformed how people engaged with the sport and helped expand its global reach. Finally, we can't ignore the remarkable changes driven by global commerce and technology. These developments have revolutionized everything from how the game is played and broadcasted to the way teams are managed and players are scouted. All of these factors have contributed to making cricket more accessible, more dynamic, and more connected to the modern world. Overall, these changes illustrate how cricket has continually evolved, adapting to societal shifts and technological advancements, and in doing so, maintaining its relevance and appeal across generations.